President Obama unveiling his plan to close Guantanamo Bay, but why now, and will he have the political capital to get it done? Then Donald Trump says he will flunk the competition in tonight's Nevada caucuses, but the establishment Republicans, they say it's high time to dump Trump, and they're planning to do something about it. We'll explain how this just may work. Also, Governor Cuomo visiting our area today to push for the $15 minimum wage. And we got some FaceTime with him to ask him about that plan and more. Evening, everybody. Welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. Thank you so much for joining us this Tuesday night. Now, before we get to our top story about Gitmo, we start with some breaking news. And we'll get into much more of this tomorrow in our legal program. But that man, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, has just confirmed Republicans will not take any action on anyone that President Obama nominates for the Supreme Court. McConnell says nearly all Republicans support the decision to put this off till after Election Day. The White House, for their part, says the hearing's still possible, as a handful of Republican senators would support just that. And again, we will have a lot more on the Supreme Court drama tomorrow, obviously with huge implications for the upcoming election. We're joined by our panel of attorneys. We'll hash that and much more out at 6 p.m. tomorrow night. But speaking of tonight, President Obama this morning outlined his plan to close the military prison at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. Here he explains why he wants to do that.
In this fight, we learn and we work to constantly improve. When we find something that works, we keep on doing it. When it becomes clear that something is not working as intended, when it does not advance our security, we have to change course. For many years, it's been clear that the detention facility at Guantanamo Bay does not advance our national security. It undermines it.
The U.S. opened the prison in 2002. When President Obama took office, nearly 250 inmates were there, and he pledged to close the place down. 7 years later, he's still trying to do just that. Right now, 91 inmates remain there, 35 expected to be resettled to other countries. 10 have already been convicted of terror charges or have pending cases before military tribunals. That leaves 46 with uncertain fates. And of course, there is much debate about what to do with them. Pentagon, they've outlined 13 possible sites, including Supermax prisons in Colorado or Leavenworth in Kansas. But the president, he's going to need Congress to go along to help him do just that. And Republicans are saying his plan, DOA, dead on arrival. And of course, the GOP presidential candidates didn't even take a breath before saying this is bad, worse, or terrible idea. And many are saying the timing seems odd with the Supreme Court drama playing out. All right, let's bring in our panel right now to weigh in. Jonathan Yedden, Democratic consultant with the Advance Group and a former executive director for the Kings County Democratic Party. Dominic Carter, political journalist and author. We're talking about his interview with Andrew Cuomo coming up this hour. And Andrew Whitman, our senior political correspondent. All right, I already saw the image of a Republican senator taking the proposal, looking at the camera, and throwing it into a garbage can.
Very clever.
Very clever, I know. Artie. But the point is, this ain't going anywhere on Capitol Hill. So my question is, we'll get to the merits of it, but why do it?
I think there's a couple of reasons for it. One, I take the president at his word that he wants to close this. This was a campaign promise that he made when he was running and first running. Congress passed a law blocking him from doing it. So I think he's trying to empty the cupboard as it is and get through all of the campaign promises that he hasn't been able to actually push through since he's been in office. I also think he's trying to focus the national attention on gridlock and dysfunction in the Senate. And this is another example of that. The Scalia nomination is, or the replacement of the Supreme Court is before the Senate, and the president and Democrats are going to make a case that the problem with the dysfunction in Washington isn't the Democrats, it's not the White House, it's the Republicans, particularly in the Senate. And I think this is another opportunity for him to ring that same bell. I've been trying this for 7 years. There's no national security interest in all this. It costs us a fortune, and they won't even consider it, much less actually vote on it.
Okay, Dom, I hear it, but we were looking at polls, Andrew and I, earlier today, and the most recent polls show roughly 2 out of 3 Americans, they don't want to see Gitmo closed, and more specifically, they don't want to see any of these guys on American soil. My point is, the public, they don't like that Republicans are deciding that, I don't care what the Constitution says, we're not going to let you even nominate somebody for the Supreme Court. Forget about whether we're going to approve or not of the person. We're not even going to let you do that. I thought the president was on the positive side of PR. I thought he had a chance to push it or at least make things really uncomfortable. By doing this, he feeds the narrative of the imperial president, and that there he goes again trying to mandate policy that's unpopular in America. I'm not saying he's going to get it done, but doesn't he run the risk of distracting here? And didn't he make it easier for McConnell to say, forget the Supreme Court, just look what he did with Gitmo today, it's not going to happen?
I think Andrew's correct in that Mr. Obama is looking at his legacy on a number of fronts. And I think that this is also about, Richard, about energizing the base.
But why not wait to do this for a month from now, Dom? It's not like Democrats are dying to see Gitmo closed. They really care that much about the 91 guys there. I agree with you. I think from a rule of law and everything else we'll talk about in a second, there's an argument to do it. There's been an argument for a long time.
Well, today was the deadline that was set by the Obama administration to come forward with the plan.
Yeah,
and so, I mean,
deadlines change.
Right. I agree with you, and I agree with your first point in terms of the criticism possibly against the president. But I really think that for lack of a better term, one hand washes the other. And I really think that he's trying to help Democrats across the country to show that he has coattails and say, look at these guys. Look at how outrageous their behavior is. He's hoping that will be the case.
Colorado Democratic senator who's got a re-election said, no, I'm not with the president on this one. Depending where you are in the country, this isn't so popular. Forget about just Republicans. The Supreme Court's one thing, I get it. There's a bunch of other issues the public's with the president on. So if you want to fire up the base, I think there's other ways to do it. Are you surprised that he chose now for the timing of this?
Not at all, actually, and I agree with what both Dominic and Andrew said. I think he needed to piggyback and continue the narrative that the Republican Senate are so do nothing. They don't even want to at least consider his proposals, and therefore, again, he'll take that on the road at some point, and he'll help out Democrats across the board running. It seems likely that they should take the Senate back. And so with that, there might be an opportunity to do something down the road, but he wants to continue the narrative, continue bashing Republicans who sit there,
but
do nothing.
They bashed him and said, hey, Mr. President, you don't got the guts to be tough on terrorists. Look at what you're trying to do. You're looking for their rights and all the rest. No way I'm going to imperil American safety by doing it your way.
All it's done, though, is undermine our national security by fueling these recruitment videos in these jihadist areas that keep showing the stuff that was done there, to recruit more people. We're not dumping these people off in the middle of Times Square and they're going to be out free and going to Red Lobster.
There is the open question.
That's debating the issue on the merits, which is further than this debate is going to get in Congress.
Supermax prison where they're not going to be able to get out.
But I think
what's the difference where it is?
We make a leap to get them from, we all assume they've got this compelling evidence for these 91 guys that are there, or the 46 guys that won't be going up. We don't know how the evidence was gotten. Is that going to stand up at trial? All of a sudden, there's one thing keeping it in a Cuban prison. I know it's American property, but still Cuban soil. Now you put it on domestic soil. Does this mean that these guys are now going to have their day in court? Well, we don't know the answers to these questions.
And these are great questions for the legal panel tomorrow. This is so much further than this debate is actually going to go in Washington or with the American public. The president is not going to expend any political capital on this. He's not counting heads. He's not twisting arms. He's not working to get a deal on this. He wants to be able to present it like he did today. It'll be DOA, won't get a hearing, won't get a vote, won't get a debate in the Senate. And now he can say, here's 10 different things.
Everything you say, I agree with. But the only thing I'm disagreeing with you guys is, I don't think when 2/3 of the country doesn't like the idea, that putting it out there just as a trial balloon for them to shoot it down helps the president, helps the party. I know I saw Bernie Sanders. If you're Hillary Clinton, are you better served today saying, yeah, I want to close Gitmo down? In a general, does that help her? I don't think it does.
But I don't think she has to take a further position one way or the other. It's a message that's sent to the base. Look at the obstructionist policies of this Senate. Remember how good Newt Gingrich was doing as Speaker? It came in with the Republican Revolution. And then he complained that he was forced to sit in the rear of Air Force One under Clinton. It was the beginning of the end for the Republicans. And so one could make a similar case that that's what Obama is trying to do in this situation.
We'll see. I agree with you guys. It's not going anywhere. The timing of it and the messaging of it, he certainly had them on their heels. I wonder if McConnell comes out and says what he did so declaratively today, if there wasn't the distraction of Gitmo. Maybe
part of it, though, is the hypocrisy of the current Republican Party. John McCain, at one point, when he was running for president, advocated to shutting down Gitmo as well. George W. Bush has come out right after his presidency saying that we should begin shutting it down. So it's to show, like, these guys said one thing just a couple of years ago, and now they're flipping on it. They don't even want to talk to me. It's come on.
I wouldn't be surprised if the administration pulled out a few other issues that were DOA, maybe revisiting the codified EPA rules that they know the Senate's not going to pass. A few other things just to make sure, like, that people get the message. Not only do they not want to pass this, they don't even want to engage in the debate, and that's their job. They're not doing their jobs.
I would hope if that's the plan of the administration, to show that they're the do-nothing Congress or the obstructionists and just say no, they'd pick ones that are politically popular with the American public. We'll see. All right, coming up next, tonight, an important night, if you will. Donald Trump heading into the Nevada caucuses today with a head of steam, but establishment Republicans not just talking behind the scenes, but are now in full mode here to try and rally around an establishment candidate. The question is, can they?